Okay, I don't know if I should assume no one is done or if people are done, but I'm just gonna go over the problem because if you're not done, you're probably a bit confused then. So here in this problem, we're given we're given an object of players, and we just need to we need to try to use
Wait,
like what
Madhu,
we learned. Huh?
are you recording?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we're given an object class of players, and we're given like a list of these players. And just like add on to the fact that you can use an array list, I mean, a collections.sort an array list. You can also use it in an array. So that doesn't exactly matter. Like it doesn't matter what data type it is. So what we need to do is we need to sort the players first by their score. And then if they happen to have the same score, we would sort by their names. As we saw in this example, it's sorted first by like this is like the original list. And then in the post list, you would be sorting it by the score that they got and then their names. So like A comes before D. So what we need to do is we need to implement comparator because that will allow us to sort by like multiple attributes. And that's kind of what the problem's forcing us to do, since I can't like exactly like edit the previous code. So we need to write our checker class. So let's call it class checker because that's what they want us to name it. And then implement comparator. And then we would be comparing the players. And inside the comparator class, remember we need the compare method. So public int compare. And then we have our player 1 and then player 2. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to compare the score. So remember to compare like scores, we would just check if one score is greater than the other. So if p1.score is less than p2.score, you would return 1. So some people might be worried about like what number should I return? Should I return -1 or 1? So typically, like as you do these problems more and more, you'll kind of like see like the pattern of like what happens when you return -1 versus 1. And additionally, you can always like test your code with the run code, and like you'll see if you like got it completely wrong, you should probably just like switch the number and like because you probably sorted it in the completely wrong direction, and like if you just switch it to like a -1, I'll get you the like right direction. So as you just do more and more of these problems, you'll eventually just get it on the first try usually. And if P1 score is greater than P2 score, then we need to return -1. And like you can't just simply do this because if they happen to have like the same score but like a different name, your answer is actually not going to be right. So we also need to compare their names. So like in the case that both of their scores are the same, we need to compare the names. So if p1.name.compare2, p2.name is greater than 0, we return 1. And someone had a question earlier in chat of why are you able to use compare to in a string? It's because the Java string class has a pre-built compare to method. So I'm just using the string class's compare to method to do this. Otherwise, if it doesn't have like the pre-built method, such as like in these ints, you would want to like stick to this kind of method. And now that we checked if the P1 name is greater than the player 2's name, we want to check the opposite. So if p1.name.compare2, p2.name is less than 0, then we would return -1. And I mean, for the purposes of like competitive coding and like typing fast, I'm just writing it on the same line. More formal way to show it is like having these tabs so that your code is more readable. But I just had it on the same line for the purposes of like showing that you can type it a lot faster if you just type it in one line. It's just preference. And in the case that they're the same, we would just return 0. And if we run our code, it should work. Yep, works with our test case. Let's submit our code. And yeah, that's pretty much the answer. For the code that we used for this lesson and the Hackerrank, it'll be posted on the GitHub, which is on the Google Classroom. So if you don't know what GitHub is a place for people to share their code. And that's exactly what we're going to do with like the lessons that we started doing since like last week. is that we're just going to post our code onto GitHub so that if you need the code afterwards, you can just check out our GitHub, and then like I'll post a link for it on Classroom. I'm pretty sure it's already posted, but I'll post it on Classroom if it's not already there. And that kind of concludes today's meeting. If anyone has any questions, please ask in the chat. Otherwise, Kanishk or Ms. Horton, do you have any announcements to make?
I need to go submit the team names and stuff for Richardson and the other schools. So can you make sure before you leave, if you wanted to compete, look and see if there's any empty spots, or just go compete by yourself, because it's good practice if you don't have a team. This is like the only year ever that it doesn't cost anything. Normally it's $50 a team, so it's about $17 a team member. So if you want to go to 5 of those, it starts adding up. So you really should do them. It helps improve your AP CSA scores. The more problems you look at, the easier it is for you to look at those problems at the end of the year when you do those.